So as many of you guys do know, Swamp Izzo played a huge part within Playboi Carti's last album, being called Music. Him and Carti were like this on the album. Izzo was on pretty much every single song. He brought his energy and did like his big one with the album, right? So since then, it's been a couple of weeks since the release of the album. We haven't really gotten any info regarding like the back end, the process leading up to it. We really don't know anything regarding the album besides the music, right? So Swamp Izzo has kind of like gone on this media run doing huge blogs and like giving some information regarding the album, right? He went on Complex, and what we're going to be breaking down today is going to be his interview with Vlad TV, because this is the first interview Swamp has given since the release of the album. I believe it's like an hour 16. My boy OJ did like a breakdown of all the most important parts within the interview. So let's break down all the important information Swamp Izzo gave us regarding Carti alongside the album, maybe even more albums in the future, hopefully, right? So let's get into it. So like I said, Swamp Izzo did a huge interview with DJ Vlad, and these are all the most important parts regarding the album, right? Shout out my boy OJ, because he's been an OG on the channel. He's in every live stream, every video. Shout out, bro. His tweet went crazy, right? 700,000 impressions in about a day, which is pretty crazy, right? So the first thing, pretty much the basis on how Swamp Izzo and Carti met, which was 2 to 3 years ago. They made 5 songs on the day they met, and this seemed to be like the first day they did meet. I remember when this picture surfaced, everybody was just like, what the hell is going on? Why is Carti like in a normal fit? Because this time it was like 2022. Carti was still in that like rock star, coming off Whole Lotta Red, narcissist type vibe. We all know the type of swag and the aesthetic he was on. So to see Carti in like a fitted, some skinnies and some threes, everybody's like, what the hell is going on? What is this next Carti era? What is this next Carti aesthetic? So around 2022 is the first time Swamp Izzo and Carti really connected, right? And then Swamp Izzo said, this was a clip that DJ Vlad put out, because DJ Vlad was like blue balling this interview, right? He was putting out like little 2-3 minute clips about the interview. Everybody was like, okay, because this was a clip prior to the release. This was a clip prior to the release of the album. We're like, okay, Carti already had an album done before him and Swamp Izzo met. So going all the way back, what Swamp Izzo said, they first linked within 2022. In 2022, Carti had an album ready to go. And I'm curious if that was this, right? Because December of 2022, more so like Christmas Eve, this was when Carti like started this whole, I don't even know what this album was really called. A lot of people were saying it was going to be Music V1 or Narcissist. We really don't know, because there was truly never a name behind it. So regarding this name, I don't know. But remember, we go back to December, the holidays 2022. This was when Carti was teasing this album, and just like nothing came about. He said, I love my supporters, it's time, which ultimately led to nothing, more so a 3-year wait, right? So he said he had an album ready to go. I wonder if he was actually like going to drop, you know, this album back in December of 2022. If he was really on go to release this, and maybe there was like a last minute split decision, I really don't know. But that's the first thing that comes to my mind when I hear 2022 and this album. A lot of people were like, yo, it had to be Narcissist, which Narcissist was more so 2021. 9/13/2021, never forget it, right? So maybe he could have dropped Narcissist within 2022, but I don't really think that was the case. I think this was probably like a whole nother album in my opinion, especially a whole year later within December of 2022. Definitely in my opinion was probably like a whole nother album, right? So then he said, when Swamp Izzo announced an album done in 2023, he didn't expect Carti fans to take it very seriously. So after that, him and Carti really locked in and took it for a serious project, right? Because if y'all remember, back in 2023, I believe this was like around like September 2023. Swamp Izzo, in relation to Carti, nobody really knew like what was going about. Everybody was like, who's this Swamp Izzo dude? Like, what is his role? What is he gonna be doing for the release of like this Carti album? Because if we go back to 2023, we were in dead waters, right? Especially around the time he said, Playboi Carti, Swamp Izzo album is done, right? I'll play the clip right here.
Swamp Izzo and Playboi Carti's album is done.
And this is his like explanation about what went down in that time.
Because I remember at one point you actually were trolling academics. You were saying there's supposed to be a drop that never happened.
I had to.
Okay.
To be honest, I think he's lying. I'm not gonna lie. I think he's lying. I think him and Carti were probably ready to go. And then Carti was like, yeah, we're not doing that. And then Swamp Izzo kind of
was this something you guys kind of strategized? Okay, like
I don't really know. I feel like he's trolling when he said that.
Some false info to kind of mess with people.
And honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you. No, because
You see?
I kind of turned the curve too fast on announcing the album.
Yeah, so when he said that, that just blew up the community. Like, Carti has an album done, but obviously it never really dropped, right? But Swamp Izzo said after that moment, him and Carti really locked in to create the album we eventually got today, right? Then Swamp Izzo spoke on like why the album is called Music, right? They said they chose the album title Music because they didn't want to put the album in a box of one sound / genre, which eventually makes sense now. I feel like when I first seen the name, I was like, music? Really? That's the name of the project? Then it turned into like iMusic. But after hearing the album and seeing this explanation, it completely makes sense, right? Because what would be a name to like categorize this whole album, right? Because you can't box, what Swamp Izzo say, you can't put us in one box, you can't box us in no category. He's not trolling, right? There's a song for everybody. There's a complete like multiple different vibes on this album. There's different energy within every single song. So I think music, like, it's just music, right? It's just a compilation of all different types of music Carti's been making over the years, just really to put out the dopest songs from this whole, 5-year wait, all the different eras you could see it compiled into one album being music. So that eventually does make sense. At first I was like, music, I don't really know about this one, Carti, but it makes sense, right? So that's regarding the album name. Then they spoke on why the album had so many prods on it, right? They said the album had so many producers and features because they wanted it to be the biggest album in the world. They ain't lying. They did get the number one.
Why?
This is what Izzo said
a lot
right
of
here.
times, like, you have
I believe
albums.
it's still number one. I believe it went number one, not in a row, but I believe it's approaching its 5th week as number one because like last week or 2 weeks ago, he lost that number one to Ariana, but then he took it
Where
back.
it's like a rapper and like one producer. Might be some, little co-production here and there. Why so many songs, like, with tons of different producers?
To be the number one in the world.
Okay, so you were just trying to get as much talent.
Shut
Trying
up.
to
Isn't
be-
it funny?
trying to
Rock
make
with
it the
Izzo.
biggest album in the world.
Hey, they did it, right? Every single prod did their big one, and I think that was a good thing, right? Bringing in so many different musical talents with this type of style and this type of style and this type of swag, bringing them all and letting them cook on one album, we could see, like, obviously we spoke on it with the title, right? It's just like a compilation of just vibes throughout the whole entire project, different types of energy, different types of minds. Makes sense why there's a lot of prods on there. And then obviously every feature pretty much made sense. I feel like Travis Scott, I still think Travis Scott did nothing on this album. I don't think there was anything impressive regarding Travis. The Thug and Ty Dolla $ign song, I wasn't really too crazy on it. Kendrick went crazy. Future went crazy, right? Skepta went crazy, right? So I feel like those are my highlight features, but obviously those were all big dogs and it did what it did, right? So that was regarding the features and the prods on the album. Then they spoke on all the songs were being tweaked up until the moment the album released. Some of the elements added were the ad-libs on Pop Out and the Alive on Crank, right? So Vlad actually put this clip out a couple like weeks ago, maybe 1 week ago, and everybody was like, yo, they were really cooking that album past the due date, right? Because the album was supposed to drop at 12. Swamp Izzo said they were in the booth from 12 to 3, still cooking the album, which is crazy, right? And he said some of the stuff that they were cooking and tweaking was like some of the ad-libs on the song, right? Talking about Alive, Alive, obviously on Crank. And then he said at the end of Pop Out, when you hear I'm really in this bit with my mama, they recorded that like at 2 a.m. when the album was supposed to drop 2 hours ago, right? So they were really cooking. Swamp Izzo also said they were in the studio for 3 days straight, no rest, because they knew, and he said he knew the album date for a minute, right? So that's like procrastination final boss, but hey, it works every single time. Did it for Whole Lotta Red. Apparently a majority of the album was cooked in 5 days. I don't know if that's true, but honestly, after seeing this, and then they say that about Whole Lotta Red, it's probably believable, right? So then they spoke on Kendrick Lamar. They said Carti and Kendrick have a lot more unreleased songs. I don't really think that's a shocker to a lot of people. They probably had like multiple sessions with each other, right? Obviously they had 3 on the project. Mojo Jojo, they had Good Credit, which is my favorite song on the project. Then they had Backdoor, which is probably like a top 5 song on the project, right? So Kendrick and Carti, would we like to see more Kendrick Lamar x Playboi Carti songs in the future? I'm gonna take it. Now, I'm not gonna lie, when we all seen Kendrick Lamar on this track list prior to the first listen, a lot of us were like, what the hell is going down? Because Kirko put out that tweet. What the hell is a Kendrick x Carti song gonna sound like? Like who even thought of that, right? Ultimately made sense, right? Because they went 3 for 3. He said, F it, I'm going 3 for 3. Now God, he did. So I would love to see more Carti x Kendrick songs 1000%. Then they spoke on Babyboi, right? They said Swamp Izzo and Carti have 100 songs left for Babyboi, not counting the other 300 to 400 solo Carti songs, right? And I'm pretty sure when he says 300 to 400 songs, It's probably songs that are like ready to go, that are release ready, that Carti is like, yo, I would be fine with these releasing to the public, right? So that's what I'm guessing. Then he said when him and Carti linked, they had about 100 songs left for the project, because he said they made 130 songs for music, and then obviously it was 30 songs, so there's 100 left ready to go for Babyboi. So there's about like 500 songs to choose from that are ready to drop for Babyboi, which is crazy. It makes 100% sense. It's been 5 years. Carti has thousands and thousands of songs, so about 300 to 400 to pick from that are ready to go makes complete sense, right? Then he spoke on Carti, A$AP Rocky. He says Carti's never gonna leave Og. Then he spoke on Babyboi. He said Babyboi doesn't have a release date, but Swamp Izzo prays it drops in 2025, right? So if Swamp Izzo is praying Babyboi drops, it ain't dropping, right? It's not dropping within 2025. And honestly, really looking at it, Carti gave us about like 35 songs in 1 year. So that's a pretty big year for Playboi Carti, right? So don't really expect Babyboi to drop anytime soon. I was thinking maybe earliest we could see is probably after the Weekend tour. Maybe they might change their mind, who really knows? And then he said Carti actually would do an interview in the future, right? So that is gonna be the entirety of the thread regarding this DJ Swamp Izzo, DJ Vlad interview. I believe the interview was like 2 hours, maybe an hour. It was actually a really good interview. Shout out Swamp Izzo. He's keeping it real. He's dope. Shout out my boy Party OJ for doing this whole thread. Great thread. This thing blew up. It's about to be at 1 million views. Probably like tomorrow, which is crazy, right? That's gonna be this Swamp Izzo DJ Vlad info dump. If you guys like the video, like, comment, share, and subscribe. So MONEYMAY, and I'm out. Thank you guys.